My name is Jakub. I'm a victim of dark web stream show based on suffering of innocent animals and people, especially me, because I'm a major victim of this sadistic show. This video is mainly directed towards people which are involved in any way into this terrible situation, both to these which know me and wish me to expose the sadistic industry, and both to these ones which got manipulated to do evil things or don't react at all, turning their head, not trying to reach the truth. In these recordings, I will shortly describe the ways of violence and manipulations these criminals use, including physical violence, poisoning, invigilation, gaslighting, spreading deepfake videos, and blackmailing, which had the beginning in the times when I was still a child, and my father started to do cruel things, to record cruel videos, and showed live streams of suffering of mine and of animals, and me as his child, as the human in the main role of this. That's how it began. Later he posted them on deep web websites for other sadists as him and some sexual deviants enjoying such type of content, which then paid in cryptocurrencies, so this sort of sadistic business, this ugly industry could grow up to much bigger size, which is currently the case, and that's also why I'm recording this video. At the beginning, I will describe the ways of how the criminals act, how the criminals achieve their goals, and how they manage all this, manage to lead this criminal activity, and do these live streams, these cruel videos. So about maybe construction of this web, or this criminal web. It's based mostly on manipulation and tricking people into believing in certain things without noticing the reality, and after time of then blackmailing or getting some way of control on the potential victim, which then afterwards gonna agree for unethical things, which he normally wouldn't agree if he or she would know what is the real situation. And how is it made? I will first begin of this. Also, I want to apologize that my vocabulary is very poor and logical construction, as you can hear, but this is because of constant poisoning since a lot of years. So my body is very destroyed. Also currently, I'm also have such substances in my blood, and my current situation is really not good for my health, for my safety. But I will describe as I can, and I hope it's gonna be possible to understand it, the meaning of it, and to cover all these things, to just expose these evil things which happens. So at the beginning I wanted to cover how the criminals does it. This is mostly made by criminals which manage this pathological, this dark web, let's call it dark web show. For example, as one of the examples, my father, which began it in case of me, and build up it on my person, mainly, also including animals in the house, but people like him, for example, or others managing it mostly through PC, or just doing it remotely, gives information or some rules, or tells what to do to person below, which is physically in certain place, and which just agrees and does and hurts other on purpose. Most often such people are sadists, or just psychopaths which don't have any ethics and just do everything for some sort of money or satisfaction. Such people which are physically in certain places gets remotely the information with instructions what to do. Most often it's to recruit others by manipulation and to brainwash others, maybe I would call it this way. It can work in the way that person which agreed for such thing comes to people not expecting this, try to convince them, for example, spread some deepfakes if it's case about me, or maybe if it's case about others, to tell some story, non-existing story, to make the person believe, to attract some attention. It can be also made by spreading the letters into mailboxes, like which pretends to be from a bank or from some government institution, so it attracts the attention of potential victim. When potential victim opens such letter or listen to some manipulator, some sadists which just have much more information that then they gonna have about the whole procedure, he shows them further steps to install, for example, certain applications, send them certain things, so it uploads most often some viruses, some malwares on devices, which then is used to control them, to gather the information to about their families or about their acts, if they are doing certain things they agreed for as the criminals want to, and if they are not trying to confront it with the truth. So if they are not, for example, trying to ask me when I'm as a victim in such situation, or somebody else who could be victim, for how is it in reality, because in this case they can start getting blackmailed, or some other things can happen to them, which they can be scared. So as I said, it's mostly by spreading, first manipulating, brainwashing, spreading deepfakes, like the deepfake videos showing, for example, me as the narcoman, or like drug addicted, alcohol addicted, of theft, for example, of some deviant, of pedophile, of zoophile, of some sadist or psychopath, and other things like this. Person often agrees because cannot confront it with the other person. I mean, the people which don't have any relations with the victim of such manipulations. In this case, I'm describing me as the victim of it, which I'm like mainly. And then because they cannot confront it, often they believe. If they don't believe and they reject further steps to like hurt some innocent, because they think that find the connections that there's something strange and have some suspicious, contact can often is cut off. If they try to do some steps against, then they're often getting blackmailed. But majority of people sadly don't confront it and can agree or just turn head around and ignore the victim. Yes, so that's shortly about the way of this network works. It's just about person remotely sending some other person or finding in the deep web websites, which is physically in certain planes, gonna agree for some payment, for example, also sometimes getting obviously blackmailed, because everyone in such network works against each other and thinks only about money and hurting others, because that's very ugly community. About, like, as I said, so most of people just can expect to have, which are involved in a case, to have some sort of malware which used to just control them. But the person which can agree goes to the place, gets money for this, then recruits by brainwashing, proposing some money, others which potentially can agree for unethical things without knowing and confronting how it is. Then after they agree, often the informations are gathered also about them. They are asked for certain things like recording, poisoning, some physical violence, or many other sort of violence. And after they just pushed further, for example, into other things, because certain information about them is gathered, and they have this virus in their device. They had no idea even for example for a few months, and they then can be blackmailed for money, for do another thing, and just as the criminal groups, organized criminal networks works. But in this case, it's just people, most often, which are about to do some evil things to others, and this is then recorded and monetized by cryptocurrency for rich sadists which enjoy such sort of content. And the same was about me. Maybe I will go further into details what happens in my case. Exactly which of the things happens. First, I want to cover maybe how it began, of the beginnings, which were when I was in a childhood, because it's important, I think, to know also the context of how it works, how the manipulations are made, how does just this criminal activity of such people, how they do it, does it. There's a lot of similarities. So about how it began, that was like, I'm sorry for that I have really big problems with speech, but as I say, I'm in a really bad health condition. I have like constant problems with breathing and a lot of like I would say problems with concentration, with memorizing, with speech and all the rest. But yeah. So, but to go back, I wanted to say about how it began. So it began when I was in the age of few years old, basically since I was very little, because my father had like both my father, also my brother later on, because I have twin brother, had a lot of sadistic behaviors. They presented them in the different ways. And at the beginning, because the person which earns money through it and does such things, one of such people is my father, but he began it by, for example, pushing into some reactions or of his child, so of me, by like making me cry or recording then afterwards on, for example, smartphone or hidden cameras, which he installed inside of the house, basically in every of the corner, like since when I was very young, obviously without saying it, without informing for a very long time, not giving a sign about it. Installed the hidden cameras, some audio bugs, also remote sprayers. The same is there when I'm recording now. It's also similar things happens, but it's something I'm gonna mention later. But about just the beginnings, the cameras, remote sprayers, which were used to for example, spread certain substances as chloroform to make me fall asleep, so he could control me easier, to not gather any recordings and information which I could as a child use against him, go to social care or to police when still he was much less powerful and this like sadistic industry was much smaller. So that was like to, for example, control me or spread some psychoactive substances or neurotoxins. The same with poisoning, like with food and other sort of things, or wiping some clothes and etc., which later was recorded. Same with physical violence. That's how he could earn money by then posting it. Maybe I will describe the just from the beginning. I'm sorry, I'm just completely cannot like completely blank inside. I cannot even think about anything because of these substances. But yeah, okay. I will just say how it began. So when from just completely beginnings, when I was a child. Years old, he presented sadistic behaviors. For example, he was like shouting or just making cry a child. Later, my mother became invalid due to disaster, like genetic disaster, spinal cord ataxia it's called, which made her more and more invalid and more relevant on him and dependent on my father. So he could like control everything much easier. And the first like sadistic behaviors or such situations, as I said, was just like physical violence, mostly just punishing for no reason, and then saying like beating child or some other things, and telling story as it's for some that this is way of teaching somebody. The same, for example, with the animals, when before he started to earn more money and just make, like, instead of working, but to just go deeper into this deep web, dark web pathos streaming. That was more like he was just punishing for his own sadistic enjoyment. For example, me as a child beating, or for example the house cat not giving food, or throwing away both me, both cat, for example, and saying that this is because of something. That's it. In the case of me, it could be because he provoked some situation. For example, he spreaded some psychoactive substances or some toxins, then or he put it into my food. Then I puked, I was feeling terrible, and afterwards, like that as one of the example which was used on me, afterwards when, for example, I was unable to like calling him bad, and he was obviously recording it, or when I was like had to change the air to open window to get rid of some toxins which evaporated because were wiped like around the bed or on the walls of my sleeping room, and spreaded by the remote tool. Then like that was obvious because I felt terrible. I had to change the air to not feel worse because of this. Then it was recorded. Then other like reactions were provoked, and like he was putting himself into the victim of situation that like covering the whole background, as there's as for example he's just recording on the smartphone the voice, and at the same time gaslighting me that in the other way that I'm crazy, to say that he's the poor man, to be later able, for example, to beg others for money, that he's the poor guy, and also to build up like the better image in the eyes of other family, if there was some suspicions towards him. That he's the victim, and I'm or somebody else. The same, he was doing similar things with mother or with my brother a little bit, and also with the animal. Then putting himself as a victim, and saying that I, for example, opened a window, or to make him cold or sick, or if I even called him bad, which could be the case, or if I did some sort of revenge, which was like just completely different weight of what he did. So, for example, if he poisoned me, and then I was calling him badly, for example, or doing something which was much less bad, or it was just as a response, that was obvious that as a victim in such situation, like just in the pathological situation when somebody poisons somebody, and then I can do nothing because when he makes me fall deeply asleep, to be able to control like my data I gathered on him, like pen drives or some recorders or whatever else, or install the malwares into them. Then it's obvious that there was some response back. For example, I called him in some way, or my mother called him, or other victim of this, and then he could show only the piece of him being the victim, covering the fact that he's the psychopath which begging in such situation. And the same about my mother. I don't want to say I don't know how it was. About me, there was never a situation when I would beg in something which would be not response for his bad acts. For example, when I called like alcoholist, which was the case, the truth, but it's offensive word, even if somebody have problems with addiction, as my father, like with drugs or alcohol, which was the very frequent his problem. And after the situation, as example, if I'm getting poisoned, if I'm feeling terrible because he spreaded some substances, so I have to open the window and I feel very bad, and use some physical violence, then obviously I gonna call him, because I'm not gonna like such attitude. In my opinion, that's such person which does such things as him, or which did and currently does, or other people, should definitely sit in the jail or some psychiatrist hospital or something. But in the case when I called him, like alcoholist, for example, then there was often cutting of the trying to make me say that to say that I was wrong, and to, I don't know the word, but to like apologize for that I called him, which, and although it was true, because he was influenced by the alcohol, like he was drunk and he was, for example, poisoned or attacked me, and if I called as the response for such aggressive acts, then I was then obviously it was constantly recorded by the hidden cameras or by the audio recorded in the phone, which was then uploaded to the cloud and overwritten, so 24/7 basically recorded of everything, because then he could erase certain data which he didn't want to save, or rewind like back and save data he could use to manipulate others. And that's example when then, for example, tried to scare me, when I called him alcoholist or other thing, which was the case after such sadistic behavior he did towards me. And if I didn't apologize, there was like for example, like he was like beating or doing other ways of violence, or kicking out, locking doors when I was a child, or not giving food for several days, or poisoning again, and other things like that, to try to like manipulate, or so brainwashed in the way so I would be obedient into being the victim, which gonna agree for being heard, being recorded, and not doing any steps. Also, there were like a lot of situations when I tried to gather the information, the data on the pen drives, and to share them into like institutions. That's also would be take very long to describe, but just shortly, that was the way of constant controlling, because he got access, like to he was able to control just the whole family, because of the mother became invalid. Like since she just became invalid, like even earlier when I was just few years old, he already was like controlling in the ways, as I said, of different types of manipulation, violence, or for example, like GPS trackers, like inside of the car, or shoes, or for example, like clothing. As I said, the cameras, the other things which he used, the malwares, which were always basically in every device I used, in every the same basically as the situation looks currently. The same is the phone, two phones I'm currently recording this video. They also contain virus, so I don't know about if it's even gonna be possible, like, or how like I don't know how it's gonna be with the video, but I'm just recording it anyway. Just yeah, like sorry, I just cannot focus completely. I'm feeling very terrible. But to go back, I finished about the situation. I have there the small note also, which I used at the beginning to not lose instantly myself. yes, yes. I wanted to maybe I should describe the ways also, to maybe more how it began, like more precisely instead of just yeah. Okay, so I will just maybe do this other way. Just gonna say how from the completely beginning. So the situation escalated when my mother became more invalid, more and more. He could get control of everything. Obviously, like he took like lawyers or also lawyers or how. Or other people like from government that he could pay money, which he had, and to get some like to make somebody agree or agreed certain documents which gave him more control or more power on the family. And there was the situations when at the beginning, I'm sorry, I just completely feel terrible, but yeah. So I said that okay. I feel like it's just impossible in considering how terrible health condition I am, how much toxins I have in my body, to even cover in any logical way the facts and to make it in one logical piece. But yeah, like no matter how strange, how weird, how crazy it's gonna sound, as some completely crazy person talks about being recorded, about some people getting manipulated, about being poisoned and other things. I know that it sounds completely crazy, especially when I'm describing in such way, you know, even when I cannot speak properly. But I will just try to describe it anyway. Because there's like that's what I was asked also for multiple times, and I did also it before, but without a result. It was like stopped in certain way. Now, but yeah, now I did certain steps to make it work, but I even cannot say it properly. I feel, but yeah. I like to build up okay. But yeah. It's like feel complete thirstiness in my throat, but yeah, even don't have. Yeah. Okay, but okay, to like begin of complete beginnings. Okay, so about just how the situation began. That was in the as I said, of taking the control in different ways, of recording cruel acts, how it was made maybe a little bit. My skin is very swelling, I'm sorry, just like everywhere, and it's sweating, swelling, just it's not looking good, but yeah. Okay. So maybe at the beginning I will describe of how maybe I'll just say how which were the ways of doing such acts. So a little bit I already described, maybe about the poisoning. I will first say how it was made. That was made by putting certain substances to the fridge. When I couldn't see his acts, when he was doing such things, then proposing, or for example, certain food, or when I just used it when I was a child, or when like ordering the delivery from some restaurant, which then arrived and on the different address, because he called a certain restaurant, then wanted to deliver on the different address, which was delivered on the different address, and person had certain substances and came as the person which is about to be from the delivery guy, let's call, from some restaurant, and give such food, and then for example giving me to others. That was like also beginnings, which he before also tested, like beginnings of a situation when it escalated more, when instead of just physical violence, manipulations, gaslighting, or spreading some fakes and making other hate somebody, just trying to destroy somebody's mentally, that was when other ways of violence started, as poisoning and other sort of things, when he got more influence to do such things, and more like capability of hurting, and more knowledge, and more money, more access to such things. So as I said, with this poisoning, also he tested before at the beginning used on me on animals. So when he made also like recorded and trapped animals like dogs or cats or some birds, and for example in the cage or in some box with the camera inside, which then he was poisoning. The same situation was with the family house, in the family house, and in the house cat. Also with which he was making the same way of using on me. He was using on mother, or as the example I would use the house cat, which he was for example throwing on the walls, or poisoning, or don't even want to mention it, but just like the psychopath, the same. Basically my father and brother are just completely crazy people, and such people are seriously mentally ill, but just like to, like even I'm the victim, but also even to make such things to animals, but just whatever, like just like poisoning, throwing to the walls. He was like raping, trying to like brainwash or scared, or like different ways, and then saying that it was because of animal, for example, attacked him or beat, or which nobody saw, but to just make it, others like to just explain why he's making somebody suffer, or for example about me, why he's hurting me, or why he's hurting mother or somebody else, because they are the evil ones, and they are responsible for this. There's part of some recording of this person doing this, which for example in my case very often was my twin brother, which was very similar in the young age, which then was made for different sort of videos, for example made into the deepfakes, and putting me in the situation of, for example, taking some drugs, or attacking somebody, or attacking other people, or for example beating him or kicking him, and he putting his as the poor person, so the others not gonna react for it. And as I said, that was also the other family members, but it was very often made by the sort of focusing on, for example, me, because I was the major victim. That was also because of my personality. I was very like calm in the sort of not standing against certain things. I was like agreeing for a lot of things, also due to my empathic and sensitive side, which he find as easy to hurt, and as the person which not gonna be hard enough to do some steps against, and as the person which just as he said suffer nicely, or just that he can see some suffering, or scared, that I'm scared, or other reactions of the victim of suffering, which made him satisfaction, and also made it more satisfying to watch for others. And that's why that was the reason why I was the most the mainly like victim of such things, but about the yes. about the maybe other ways. I don't know if it's already 35 minutes. I will split the video into pieces, so it's not too long. Yes, okay, maybe I will try to a little bit more describe the beginnings. I know, like, before I go deeper, because I feel like I didn't cover anything almost, because I just cannot speak even properly, and I just feel completely terrible, but and cannot find the proper words. But so I will just take the stop the video and start the new one, and describe it further, and later go into other things I have to cover.